Welcome, folks. I'm Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
What's up?
We are looking at new Rockstars, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 6, Breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you missed, series finale. So, let's check this out together, shall we? If you haven't already, you should subscribe to New Rockstar's YouTube channel. He's almost to 3 million subscribers, so if you subscribe to him right now, if you're not already, you might help him get there. And also, subscribe here, please. Bell icon, all notifications. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 6, the finale, One World, One People, in which Captain America Sam Wilson dresses up in home team whites, U.S. Agent John Walker is back in black, and Sharon Carter did to my theories what she did to that Flag Smasher's face. Look, folks, my favorite part of this has always been to just go back through the episodes and point out all the interesting details that you might have missed, and this finale is filled with little stuff that you can gnaw on, like Sarah's tiny potato slices, or Zemo's gross Turkish delights. On the Flag Smasher's disruption of the GRC vote. Actually, Carly's voiceover here is actually the same line that she spoke in Latvia last episode.
They're not going to stop. Not unless we make them. It's time.
Now, Aaron Kellerman was more...
You would be surprised how often that happens. That actually sounded like the exact same recording. I think he was about to say how it was different, but it sounded like the exact same performance, didn't it? Just like the timing was just slightly off.
Well, then, now they use an alternate take where she sounded more resolute and firm. Then a little moment with Bucky that I love. Nice, this officer respects Bucky's service and his rank, telling us that some people in this world really do learn from the history in Cap's Smithsonian exhibit, making it an even bigger deal when Isaiah's history will later become restored. Sharon Carter uses the same mesh face mask that Natasha used in Winter Soldier. It also appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, while you could see Sharon's suspicious behavior in the post-credit scene as a setup for Secret Invasion, this mask to me signals that she herself is probably not going to be a Skrull, because then she wouldn't really need that kind of cloaking tech, right? But then again, apparently no one cares about Sharon's past history, so whatever. Notice how the Flag Smashers use these smoke grenades that glow green, and then Sharon talks about her deadly mercury vapor. She says, among other things that she uses on that Flag Smasher, that emits a green smoke. And then those locks that they use on the truck doors have 8 claws, and they're strong. They take several strikes of Bucky's vibranium arm to break. Remember, Patrox supplied this gear courtesy of Sharon after she hired him. And Sharon called someone on the phone in the post-credit scene.
Super soldiers might be off the menu, but we're about to have full access to government secrets, prototype weapons, you name it.
Thinking one of Sharon's trading partners and the source of this tech could be Oscorp. Normally, I'm hesitant to lean on Spider-Man villains like Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and my MCU theories, since all those are Sony properties, and Marvel can really only do so much with them in non-Spider-Man titles, but Sony did just sign a deal with Disney Plus that makes that kind of future IP sharing a bit more likely. And by something for everyone, Sharon might mean a team of weapons tech manufacturers known for green glowing grenades, a weapon used by Green Goblin, and 8 armed reinforced metal gear that you could see someone like Doc Ock putting together. And this comes within a week of Alfred Molina talking about his role as Doc Ock in Spider-Man No Way Home. So Sam Wilson swoops in with his new suit. Yeah, now the music here evokes the Steve Rogers cap theme, but it is a variant that is unique to Sam. This suit's largely white design reflects Sam's look in the comics when he becomes Cap, including the half cowl. That shield magnetically latches to his back like it did with Steve. And Sam being in white here creates an interesting contrast with U.S. Agent John Walker.
It's the same. But black.
Sam as a black man in a role historically seen as a white man. Walker as a white man, now donning the archetypal black hat. But Sam does not leave us guessing.
I'm sorry, wait. Who are you? Captain America. I thought Captain America was on the moon.
Yeah, the guy calls back Torres' conspiracy theory that Steve Rogers was on the moon. This series never gave us an answer as to what happened with old Cap from Endgame. Kind of treated the mystery as more of a joke, because I guess these Disney Plus shows can only do so much MCU world building. But for now, I'm just gonna go with Cap is in space with Nick Fury. So as the GRC diplomats are evacuated, listen to this voice blaring over the PA system.
One simple lead from secure vehicles in the basement. Group 3 opening the air support on the roof.
Maybe don't announce this while terrorists have infiltrated the freaking building. Like, imagine that happened at the Capitol. Actually, maybe don't mentally compare what the Flag Smashers are doing on January 6th. Just don't. A Flag Smasher hands Bucky a phone with Carly calling via that Flag Smashers app, the app that Bucky will later use to trap the Flag Smashers. They must have thought a 106-year-old man couldn't work the app. They thought wrong. Carly asks Bucky,
I'm fighting for something bigger than myself. Have you ever been able to say the same?
You don't think I ever fought for something bigger than myself? That's all I ever tried to do. And I failed twice.
Yeah, Bucky fought freaking Thanos, you dummy!
Yeah!
His losses may refer to his losses in Infinity War and in World War II. You could argue, though, I don't really know if it's fair to say he lost that. Really, every fight this dude fights has been over something bigger than himself.
Exactly.
Sam subdues Batroc by kick-flipping the shield and then tossing it out the window first to break it before swooping back out to catch it. This is also kind of how he had to enter the building, by smashing the window with the shield first. See, if those Wakandans had just given him a vibranium head covering instead of leaving his scalp weirdly exposed, he wouldn't have to worry about smashing through the glass himself. He's made of vibranium at that point. Sam uses Red Wing to scan the GRC hostages, and on the screen you can see her name, Ayla Perez. She has a background in the Philippine Air Force with experience flying both Apache and Chinook helicopters. Chinook helicopters are twin rotors that tell Sam that Perez has experience with multiple types of helicopters and that he can trust her to climb into that seat and pull it out of a dive. Even though that would probably be very difficult for anyone other than Tom Cruise to do. Sam saves the NYPD pilots, shielding one with his wings and the cap shield on top, showing how the Wakandans designed this to be a perfect interlocking vibranium seal. John Walker shows up with his cosplay shield, his Medal of Honor welded on the inside.
And then he sees it. Superpowers.
Yeah, notice how this shield has a lighter, more tinny sound than the deeper, mystical hum of the vibranium.
Johnny.
As Bucky falls into the construction pit, he screams, echoing his scream as he fell from the train in the first Cap film, the scream that inspired his Winter Soldier wail, which we have not heard on this show since his Wakandan campfire going clear moment. And since he's no longer haunted, Bucky now sticks the superhero landing. Oh hey, by the way, our Anarchy Assembled shirt is still available.
Some of the like Marvel details are so obscure, I would have never have caught that.
Yeah.
Like the one I talked about in the live stream was that moment in Civil War when I believe Bucky was in the front seat, or Sam they were inside of a car.
Sam was in the front and Bucky was in the back seat, and it's a callback to Civil War.
Civil War.
When he was like, can you move the seat forward? And he's like, no.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Like, it was the opposite. Whoever was in the back of the car in Civil War was in the front seat in the show, and they just swapped lines. That was.
Was it? Oh, is that what they did? Oh, yeah.
That was the callback. It's like the most obscure thing. It is completely inconsequential, but it's there. If it's like a nugget, if you are a fan.
It's an Easter egg.
Yeah, it's an Easter egg.
Fans.
Like if you, I mean, I wonder if he's gonna call it out. Well, he would have called it out in a previous video.
So Harley tries to murder hostages, putting Walker at this crossroads. Notice composer Henry Jackman brings back his theme from Civil War here to underline Walker's come to Jesus moment, choosing to save the hostages instead of seeking revenge on Carly. Though I should say, after what he did in episodes 4 and 5 for John Walker, it's not really come to Jesus as it is Jesus actually pulling away his mesh face mask to reveal it's Mephisto underneath. That guy's going to hell. But Walker's choice is emphasized by what he does let drop his cosplay shield.
Right.
And limp. But when the truck goes loose again, it's the true shield that lifts it, framing the shield like a rising sun, saving these lives. An inverse of the way John Walker framed it, eclipsing Nico and ending his life. Sam uses his drones for a boost similar to Iron Man's drones in Spider-Man Homecoming. Really, with this suit, Sam is truly a fusion of Captain America and Iron Man with the vibranium tech of Black Panther. And Onlooker watches this, calling him Black Falcon, like the kid in Baltimore in episode 2. Bucky catches a rebarb spear. I love how this dude catches pretty much everything hurled at him on this show. Walker with the shield on the truck, the knife in episode 4, the shield again in the fight last episode. Get this man a goalie mask. And Sharon is revealed to be the power broker. A twist that seems both overly obvious, but also pretty inconsistent with the character's past behavior and timeline. We go all into it in Inside Marvel. But hey, the good news is, according to this, Sharon Carter is now apparently the MCU's most brilliant mastermind, who also makes things weirdly hard for herself. And if that's the Sharon you love, cool. Now, you could argue Sharon never explicitly declares herself the power broker.
Without a super soldiers, how much power does a power broker really have? More than you.
So you're the power broker.
But Sharon kills Batroc only because
Yes.
he threatens to expose her as the power broker to the world. As the woman behind the curtain, she needs anonymity. And if she wasn't the power broker here, she wouldn't care what Batroc told people.
Exactly.
So Sam shows up to fight Carly, anchoring his wings in the concrete, similar to Spider-Man planting his extra arms while fighting Thanos. But Sam avoids fighting her. He does these flips and somersaults, the same ones that we saw him training with last episode. So I love looking back on that training as really...
That was the moment. See, like even right here, these are the moments where you can see
The scenes.
Sam's face being put onto Aaron Toney. It's obviously a stunt person who's doing these moves because Anthony Mackie can't move like that.
Yeah.
We know that. And so when you see him doing these crazy things and you see Anthony Mackie's face, those are the moments where I wish they spent a little bit more time. Any seasoned viewer is gonna be looking for that. It's like Anthony Mackie flipping, it just sort of catches you off guard. Like there's a movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart. There's a scene in that movie where Aaron Paul does like this crazy somersault flip thingy. And I'm like, well, I know that Aaron Paul can't do that, but the thing they did in that movie that they don't do in the show is they really hit his face in shadow. They have these shots that are clearly like face on, and they're trying to like obscure Aaron's face with Anthony Mackie's, and it just, it doesn't look fantastic. It is what it is. If you're just caught up in the emotion of the moment, then you don't care so much.
But Sam avoids fighting her. He does these flips and somersaults, the same ones that we saw him training with last episode. So I love looking back on that training as really defensive, conflict-avoiding training. Carly says,
Stay down!
And it says no.
yeah, similar to Iron Man saying this to the previous Cap in Civil War.
Stay down. Final warning.
Yeah, shame that Sam here doesn't say, I can do this all day, but I guess...
I was really hoping.
Walker quotes Abraham Lincoln.
Mercy bears richer fruit than strict justice.
Yeah, the president who oversaw the U.S. Civil War, another sign that Walker is learning the lessons that these Avengers had to learn the hard way in their Civil War. So Carly dies in Sam's arms, holding the Hamsa pendant that she held at Mama Danya's deathbed. And as Sam carries her body, his outstretched wings evoke that of an angel delivering a soul to the afterlife. Or really, down on Mephisto, because she's going to hell. I love how the reporters don't know what to make of Sam.
What are they calling him? Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon. I wonder what Sam's big move in Super Smash would be. So Sam lectures the GRC leaders to change course, telling them that they gotta do better. And if I can do better and you can do better, maybe we all can do better. Hey, pretty great. Really, even deeper than Sam's great points are the fact that we are seeing a Black Captain America publicly speaking truth to power. It is a core component to Cap's character that we saw when Steve debated Nick Fury in Captain America Winter Soldier, or stood up to Tony Stark in Civil War. And Bucky acknowledges this evolution.
Nice job, Cap.
Thanks. Bucky pats the shield. He is both complimenting Sam by calling him Cap and patting the shield as a way of saying, nice job, Steve, for choosing this guy. And the last time we see Sam in the suit on this series, he soars across the frame with the shield briefly in close-up, gliding past us.
I didn't think of it like that at all. I just thought he was just patting him on the back like,
Me too.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, but it's like just the shield's in the way, so the shield gets a pat.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you wanted to look at it deeper, then fine.
I didn't
think
really of it like that. But I suppose if you want to draw that meaning from it, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the Flag Smashers go, boom, you looking for this? Detonated by Osnick, Zemo's butler from episode 3. And this news gets to Zemo on the Raft prison from Civil War. He's wearing the same jumpsuits that they all wore then. On his shelf are a few books, Russian poet Alexander Pushkin, and Views of Nature by Alexander von Humboldt. I guess this is the Alexander shelf. Meanwhile, the book Zemo reads looks like the one he had in his cell in episode 3, Fortune is a River, which explores the friendship between Machiavelli and Leonardo da Vinci in Renaissance-era Florence, Italy. Now, I previously speculated that this book meant that the Machiavellian, Zemo, had a secret partnership with some Da Vinci figure in the shadows.
Okay, you want to expand on that? Because I have no idea what he's talking about.
So Machiavelli famously wrote a book called The Prince, which is basically, I don't know how to describe it because I haven't read the book, but it's kind of like the ends justify the means. So as a leader, sometimes you have to do bad things for the greater good of the people. And it's just kind of when you say someone's Machiavellian, they tend to kind of think about things in maybe slightly devious ways. Obviously, Da Vinci was like a very smart, not just as a painter, but he was like a genius.
Right. Anytime I've heard Machiavelli, the first thing I think of is Tupac. So
why?
Because I feel like that was the name of one of his most famous albums.
Oh, really?
Unless I got it wrong. Tupac. Yeah, right there. Is that different? Machiavelli?
Machiavelli. I mean, I guess that's like a bastardization of his name.
The Don Illuminati. The 7 Day Theory
Right.
is the 5th studio album. Machiavelli, yeah.
Yeah, but the proper spelling is Machiavelli, right?
All right, well,
But
whatever.
yeah, similar.
When I hear that, that's the first thing I think of is Tupac.
Basically with Machiavelli, like I said, sometimes you have to do things that maybe people won't understand for the greater good of the people, right? And he believed that as a leader, as a ruler, you just can't desire to be loved. Because sometimes in order to rule the people, you have to do the things that won't let you be loved, but it's for the greater good of them.
That might elicit ire.
It's just kind of like a balancing act between those things. So it's just kind of being, I guess, critical and thinking about things differently. And like people often talk about Machiavelli and Machiavellian theory when it comes to politics.
Okay, and how does it tie into Da Vinci?
The book is about a partnership between Machiavelli and Da Vinci,
I see.
according to New Rockstars here. He's saying that maybe he's working with someone else who's like Da Vinci.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
You know, so someone who's like really smart, is a bit of a genius, because we know that like Leonardo da Vinci, aside from being like one of the great artists of the Renaissance period, was also a great inventor and just like an all-around genius.
Gotcha.
Someone like...
Looks like our friend.
Haha! Oh, wow, okay.
Kind of got the last laugh.
Yes, Zemo's Da Vinci was De Fontaine. Since Oznek likely could not have arranged that bombing himself, it is clear Val must have helped.
Couldn't have worked better if I'd planned it myself. Well, maybe I did. No, I'm kidding, I didn't. Or did I?
So the fact that Val has been in touch with Zemo, who's on the raft, a facility overseen by Thunderbolt Ross, tells us that our theory that Val could be assembling a team of anti-heroes like the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers may still be happening. And by saying the Flag Smasher's deaths is gonna save a lot of paperwork, redacting, and shredding, tells us that she must be part of some shadowy government division as opposed to working for Hydra or something. But Val has suited up John Walker as U.S. Agent, the dark-suited assassin from the comics that we expected him to end up as. Interesting to note, U.S. Agent also leads the Dark Avengers later in the comics.
Oh, wow.
And Val ends by saying,
Okay.
Things are about to get weird. So when they do, we're not gonna need a Captain America. We're gonna need a U.S. agent.
Weird, Well, one way to look at weird is that Val knows about the Skrull infiltration and that the secret invasion is coming, and in a world where no one trusts anyone, having an untrustworthy Dark Cap is more valuable. But Val also said last episode that the government's ownership of the shield is a legal gray area, making me wonder if she knows about Old Cap and how he brought that shield from an alternate timeline, making it technically the property of an alternate timeline government. So maybe the weirdness she's referring to is a coming
thought about
multiverse
that.
crisis, something that we can see more of with Loki in the TVA. Meanwhile, Bucky makes true amends with Mr. Nakajima and officially crosses Mr. Nakajima's name off the list, a list whose names that we have broken down in previous breakdowns, and he leaves that notebook as a gift for Dr. Rayner, leaving the frame with an empty couch and empty woods. Bucky is now out of the woods.
Oh, that's what the symbolism was. Because I was wondering what that was. I'm so glad he
okay.
broke that down. Because when they lingered on that shot, I'm like, what
Why?
is the meaning here?
Yeah.
And you notice how they took out the couch to really emphasize the shot.
Oh, yeah.
But like, when I first saw that, I'm like, I know that there's some meaning being attributed to this shot. I just don't know what it is exactly. I'm so glad he mentioned it.
I was just looking at that going, well, that's a weird choice of decor for a therapist's office. I mean, I guess it's calming, but yeah, that totally makes way more sense.
Well,
Like-
I just took it as like, see, when I first saw that shot, I mean, there's a lot of different meanings you can derive from that, but one of the things I thought was he couldn't see the forest from the trees.
Sure, yeah.
You know, but now he's out of the woods. That's actually
that's a
really
great
cool
analogy,
symbolism.
yeah.
Sam visits Isaiah Bradley again.
Black Captain America, huh? Damn right.
And right as Sam says this, behind him,
Yeah.
Eli Bradley enters the frame. Eli is a future Young Avenger Patriot, another Black Cap figure, but for now, he's still waiting his turn in line behind Sam. Meanwhile, behind Isaiah during the scene is interesting graffiti, the words, "Why me?" reflecting how both of these men had the burden of Captain America's legacy thrust upon them. Now, Isaiah brings
I
up
would never have
Malcolm
caught
that.
Mandela, of course referring to civil rights leaders Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Nelson Mandela. But my favorite thing about this is this Atlanta neighborhood where they shot this scene is home to where Martin Luther King was born. The famous MLK house is visible at the end of the street in episodes 2 and 5. So Sam brings
way.
Isaiah to his new addition to Cap's Smithsonian exhibit, including this plaque that details the history that Isaiah told him about. Along with this old photograph, this shows Black World War II soldiers that actually inspired a panel in Truth, Red, White, and Black. I love how this bookends the shot that we saw back in episode 1, Sam's reflection as he stared at that shield in the display case. It was actually him realizing people who look like him have been erased from this history, as Sam's translucent form in that scene suggested. But now Sam has transformed this from an optical illusion to a tangible reality with this statue of Isaiah Bradley. And we celebrate with a family cookout, a reminder that fixing the Wilson family boat has always been a personal metaphor for Sam for restoring the legacy of the Shield, which he has done. As Curtis Harding's On and On plays, the final credit revises the series title to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Then we get to this post-credit scene with Sharon receiving a full pardon to return to her old rank as Agent 13.
The Carter name has always been synonymous with service and trust. Welcome home, Agent Carter.
Two references there to Peggy Carter, Sharon's great aunt, who will show up in What If, and hopefully a future film with Steve Rogers in that alternate timeline. It was actually announced that a fourth Captain America film is in development from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier showrunner Malcolm Spellman, but that's probably going to follow Sam Wilson, not the Chris Evans Steve Rogers Cap films that may or may not be in development. And we end on another power broker tease from Sharon Carter talking to someone on the phone, maybe one of her Madripoor operatives or some other criminal group from the Marvel world. Hydra, Ten Rings, Hammer, AIM, Oscorp,
or maybe the actual power broker.
Sharon to return in the series Armor Wars, which Rhodey is going to star in this miniseries about the weaponry of the MCU getting in the wrong hands. But my favorite detail about Sharon's final moments, as she exits the courtroom, the camera suddenly slows down and she looks directly at camera. It is as if she knows how much her power broker reveal broke us. But I gotta hand it to you, Agent Carter. I had my doubts, but it was you all along. Hey, I want to thank everyone so much for supporting us throughout this breakdown series. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EABoss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe to New Rockstars for breakdowns of this, other Marvel stuff, Loki, really anything that will break my heart by Ralph Bonering my theories.
Boner.
Oh.
Bye!
That was really, really good.
I mean, that thoroughly broke it down. The only thing is I wonder if some of those things are the actual inspirations for some of those moves or the actual motivation behind some of those moves. For instance, the one where Bucky taps Sam's back and it's the shield, so as to say to, you know, Steve Rogers, like, good choice. I mean, I would need to see the fine print where one of the showrunners or one of the producers said that, because that feels like a stretch. But there's a lot of things in there that are very obvious. Like, once he puts it together, you're like, oh, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Once you see it.
Even just like the minute details, like the choice of books that they put on the shelf and what Zemo's reading and stuff. And then also in the background.
The Martin Luther King Jr. house?
Well, yeah, the Martin LutherKing house and then the graffiti that says, why me? Like, I wouldn't even have
those two things I would have
that.
never picked up on. I like, without this video, I would have never known that unless some article just randomly decided to mention it. Like, that's such a specific detail that I wish that was a little bit more obvious for some reason. I mean, how would you convey that without it being like, look what we did in the show? That's a really cool idea that they had Martin Luther King Jr.'s house in the background. That's crazy to me. And the detail of the sign, those are nuances I would have never caught because I'm so focused on looking at the characters and not necessarily the atmosphere. But the nice thing there is the way the show is shot, it's not done like you see a lot of shows being done right now, which is the thing I always complain about, where it's shot with such a shallow depth of field, the background is completely blown out of focus, which is the common temptation that a lot of cinematographers are following today. Like, they'll shoot with like a 1.4 aperture, it feels like. Whereas, you know, films back in the day used to be shot with a different aperture to have longer depth of field. You could actually see what was going on in the background a little bit. The idea was to draw your attention to the subject. Not completely blow everything else out of focus. And so by shooting it in this particular manner, it actually allows you to appreciate the atmosphere a bit more than you would normally with other TV shows these days. I won't name any other companies. A lot of these streaming TV shows are just shooting at the shallowest depth of field possible. I think there's a confluence of reasons for that. One is it's probably cheaper, but the other reason is just the look. It's the look associated with cinema now. Even though that's not really cinematic. And this is closer to being cinematic in my opinion. When you have nuances like that, where you can actually make out the details of the background, that's cinematic. Where it's like, it's allowing you to focus on the subject, but it still allows you to appreciate what the atmosphere around them. I'm still not hot on the mask thing that Sharon wore. Like, she went through all this effort to have that mask on, and then she just never had it on again for the rest of the show. It's like, what? How come that didn't matter?
I know, it's like a stupid little thing, right? It's like, I needed the mask to get past those soldiers, but now that I'm past them, I don't need them anymore, but like, maybe you do. Yeah, that was a nice callback because I hadn't even really like consciously twigged like, oh yeah, that's the same tech that Black Widow used.
Yeah, some of the nuances that he called out, like the sound effects and the lines, like in particular Bucky's cry out, I would have never clocked that. That's not something that would have ever stood out to me as a thing.
Yeah, and like really diving deep into the symbolism of the shots and like certain movements, like the difference between how Sam used the shield and how John Walker used the shield. I'm like, this is proper analysis. This is kind of like the stuff I would do in high school, but for literature.
Right.
So I'm really digging it.
It's a proper essay on the show.
Yeah, I like it.
The last thing I'll say, which has really nothing to do with New Rockstars, he pointed out the moment where Johnny Walker, he quoted Lincoln.
Yeah.
And I just hate that moment so much because his acting is just in complete contrast to everything else he's done in the show. That was the moment that said, yeah, this is wrong in terms of his performance, because then from the moment he decides to save the truck, for the rest of that episode, he's acting like a completely different person than we had seen him do in the last 5 episodes.
Right, like he's suddenly a stable, good guy.
Yeah, I mean, quoting Lincoln and like, you know, palsing it up with Winter Soldier and whatnot, I'm like, all right. And then, I'm back, baby. It's the same, but it's black.
It's black.
But it's black.
Yeah, like that
I'm like, yo, calm down, bro. Like, it's just a bit much.
It was just a little bit too chipper. Tone down the chirpiness a little bit. You're not that bubbly, John Walker.
I would have, you know, I know this is probably a silly idea, but I would have rather have given those lines to his wife who didn't have shit to say.
Yeah, poor lady.
You know?
Like Val just kept talking over her every time. She's all like trying to...
You know. But yeah, I love all the details in this. This was thoroughly enjoyable, and thank you, New Rockstars, for making this video. And if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to their channel, get them to 3 million subscribers. They're only, what, 4,000 people away? Or is it 40,000? 40,000 people away from hitting 3 million subscribers. So help them get there if you could be so kind. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.